Hello and welcome along to the Cork Camera Group live stream. We'll be here for the next hour or so, and I hope you'll be able to stay with us. There will be a recording of this session available. And now to get started, first a brief intro from our chairperson, Charlie O'Donovan.
24th of March, and I'd like to welcome you all to our first ever live CCG podcast, or maybe it's not a podcast, but anyway. So look, I just hope that you're all keeping well and that your extended families and friends are all keeping safe in these unprecedented times. I hope you're all using your time well. For example, what I found myself doing this week, and what's good for all photographers, I suppose, really is a bit of rummaging through the hard drive and reprocessing some images, and learning some new processing skills, whether it be Lightroom or Photoshop or any of the other software systems that are out there. Or even taking photographs, of course, while adhering to all the HSE guidelines. No, it's not very easy on occasions to do that, and I appreciate that. But I think we all need to challenge ourselves a little bit differently in these times that we find ourselves in. And even if you look around your back garden, if you look around your kitchen, if you look around your garage, you'll find some sort of item that you can start looking at differently and thinking about it. And with that in mind, we might set a few challenges as the weeks go on, kind of different takes on things. For instance, just photograph a spoon. How many ways can you photograph a spoon? We can have little competitions and things like that, or simple things that you find in the kitchen, but we'll come back to that on another day. So look, our committee has been working very hard behind the scenes, and I would like to take the opportunity to thank specifically Tim Murphy on everybody's behalf, because he has been working tirelessly over the past couple of weeks, getting the system up and running and various tests and things like that. So well done, Tim, on that. And hopefully we'll be one of the few, if not the only club, to be able to go live and continue with our meetings in some guise anyway. So what we'll do over the next few weeks, once we get this up and running, is we'll attempt to run our meetings. They may be much shorter. They may only be 30-40 minutes in duration, but we feel it as a committee important to reach out to the membership and to set ourselves tasks and to challenge ourselves, find new ways around the situations that we're finding ourselves in presently. So we will be attempting, by and large, to stick to the schedule that we have set out for the club, but obviously we can't have speakers come in and things like that. So there will be changes, and as I say, there will be shorter episodes and things like that. But as we progress our schedule, Mara will email everybody on a Sunday night or a Monday, just telling you what's coming up on the Tuesday and things like that. So keep an eye on our website as well and our Facebook page, where we'll be putting up bits and pieces every now and again. So just a reminder for next week. Next week is our competition night. We are going to run the competition. I think you've all got an email from Paul regarding that at this stage. Paul will fill you in on more on that in a moment. But suffice to say, the inbox is up and running for that competition. Inaki Hernandez is going to be the judge, a very fine judge. So hopefully we'll be able to hear his comments live as well. So Paul will fill you up on that. So look, without any further ado, we'll get on with our meeting. Thank you. Right, Tim?
Okay, and now on to the critique element of our meeting. And this is going to follow the same format we've used in the past. We're going to show some shots, then each of us is going to talk through what we think about it. these are the same shots that you may have already seen in our online poll. If you haven't taken that poll yet, I'll share the link for it here, and you can go to the poll and put in your vote for the shots that you think are the best. And it might be a bit of fun to compare later and see whether the judge's opinion matches with your opinion of the images. Okay, so here we go with the critique. Okay.
Right, will I have a go for it?
Yeah, do.
Okay, so we have a lovely landscape scene. Obviously, it's a waterfall scene, slow shutter. Some nice texture on the water. Our crop seems to suit this one for some reason. I don't know why. Lovely tones. Just seeing a lot of snow. I'm struggling to find a fault with it, so I don't see anything the fault with it. So I'll leave it at that. It's a fine image.
Yeah, I'd echo most of those comments. So I like the idea that it leads way into the distance, and at the very brow of that waterfall, if brow is the right word for water, there's a tree sticking up there somewhere, which kind of like a natural stop for the eye at the end. If there was one thing I don't like about it, is that I think it kind of slopes. It seems to me to slope a little bit. No, I don't think it is sloped. I don't think it is tilted, but to me, it just looks like it's tilted to the left. If it was me, I'd be trying rotating it up a little bit on the left-hand side to try and even it a bit. But that might be just a visual on my screen.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think if we do like 2 comments on each of the shots, it'll be plenty. So myself and Paul commented on that one. So if we just want to roll to the next one.
Yep.
Okay. So this is not my image, so I'll start comment on this, right? So this would be perfect for, I think, our texture competition, because it's showing a lot of the look of the scratches and the differences between the paints and the old knots and dints that are in that. And not only are you getting the wood, you're also getting the metal and the different tones and shades in the metal. So everything from the from the bright highlight on the metal to the dark little bit at the end and around the little knob at the back of it. So for me, it's a very pleasant image. Again, if I was thinking how would it be improved, I know it's a flat surface, but the metal bit to me seems very, very three-dimensional, whereas the wood area seems to be very flat. Now you might say a bit of wood is supposed to be flat, but I would just like to see a bit more depth, for instance, in the joins, the cracks, maybe. But that's a very small comment overall. It's a very good image, and I'd say on print it's probably stunning. Okay, that's it from me.
I would say much the same as Tim. I think it's an image that would be very suited to print. If it were my image and I was printing it, I would certainly look for to bring out as much detail as possible in all those little weathered pieces of metal. And I would probably boost contrast down a little bit to get the bit. And I think it would look very nice on a nice matte paper. It's a very, very nice image. And again, to echo what Tim has just said, I would think this would be a really good image for the technical competition where it to go ahead. I'll leave it there.
Okay, next one.
Tim, Paul was fading out on my
Yeah,
audio here. I wonder, is it happening on your end?
Yeah,
it happened to me. I couldn't hear what Paul was saying either.
Can I do it again?
no, I think we're cool. It faded out a bit, but I don't think we lost anything important.
Okay.
I'll try to hear.
Michael, you haven't commented yet. Do you want to shout in on this one?
On this one, that's one of my shots in the Copper Coast.
Okay.
Okay,
Don't go in this, so.
I'll work away with this one.
Earlier.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So, a lovely seascape image here. As you all know by now, I like this sort of thing anyway. I like the rock formations, particularly the one in the center and the one on the right. They're sort of at the same angle, kind of reaching up to the sky. And I like the one on the left-hand side. Then is just almost like a pyramid next to it. It just breaks the rhythm a little bit. I like it. I love the water effect. The sky is absolutely cracking. It's obviously during a stormy period of weather that we had. And I love the little god rays that are coming down behind the rock there. I think it's really nice and a little bit of color to it. If anything, if I was to change anything in it, I'd like to experiment a little bit with cropping it. And I think the image for me is more about the sky than the water. I keep all the sky, and I might crop it to a 16:9 or something, keeping most of the sky in and taking up the water a little bit. But that's only a tiny nitpick. I really like this shot. It's very atmospheric, and you know, it's just a moment in time captured, and I think it's well done to the author. That's it, Tim. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I likewise. It's a lovely shot. It's got that idea of the smooth water, which makes it contrast very well with the silhouette and the rocky outcrop. So we have the rough with the smooth there, and then we've got that gigantic background of the sky and the sunlight. So yeah, it's all super. Again, my shot, I'd be trying to maybe bring up the contrast a bit to see if it could make a difference. I find that with my shots, I always have to mess around with them half a dozen times and look at them with different settings, then see which one is the best. I never know whether I should dial in like 65% contrast or 73%. I just mess with it to see. I would suspect if that was mine, and before I went to print it, I think this might print a bit flat. So I'd be trying to maybe bring out the highlights more than they see on the screen so that they'd print better. Okay, that's all I have to say about that one. I'm going to go to the next one. But I wonder, is there any chance at your end that you can zoom into these and move around them a little? Just find them maybe a little bit small to see some of the detail in them.
Images.
Yeah, can you zoom in there on your side?
I don't know if I can. Let me see now.
There's a little plus at the end of your screen there, maybe. Yeah, there you go. Okay, so yeah, that's better. But if you zoom in further, and there's you can kind of maybe move your arrow keys on your keyboard left and right, it might pan across it. Yeah, so I think that's giving people a better. Yeah, great. I think that'll give people a better view, because with the borders that'll appear on the video and so on, it might be quite small to see the image.
Yeah. Okay. Will I take this one again?
Yeah, great stuff. Row in there.
Okay. So lovely scene. I'm sure we've all seen editions of this. It's the Pigeon House in Dublin. I love those chimneys. As a side note, the ESB were going to demolish them a few years ago, but they've become protected structures now at this stage. And the incinerator on the right-hand side, I love the smoke, the way it sort of wafts out of it with the slow shutter speed to get that effect in the water. Beautifully exposed, very nicely processed, great reflection in the water as well. Tones are very good in it. I really can't, I couldn't advise the author on what to do with it, because I think it's pretty much thereabouts, to be quite honest. I wouldn't do anything with it myself personally. That's it.
Great. Anyone else want to comment on it?
Whose is it?
Not mine.
It's Michael.
It's
Michael.
mine, Paul, sorry, yeah.
I'll have a go off it, so yeah.
Paul, could you zoom out again now?
Yeah, we'll have a look now if we can do that.
You know, just give people a few different views of zooms in, zooms out, so they get an idea. Yes,
Again,
that's great now, because we can see the whole shot.
yeah, it's echoing what Charlie has said there. It's a fabulous image. Obviously, the conditions were very suited to getting the reflections in the still water. We made the most of that. The light is very subtle, actually. It's a nice time of day for this one. It looks like it's either very early or very late, and you've got some lovely, nice side lighting on the chimneys and the surrounding stacks. So again, I'd say it would be a wonderful print. If kind of an urban landscape, I suppose you'd call it, or urban seascape. You know, it's a terrific image. Yeah, well done. Okay.
Yeah, great. Next shot.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, will I crack on with this one?
Yeah, great. Do please.
Okay. Lovely riverscape here. Great colours. I suppose they'd be wintry colours. Well, although they're not winter, there's leaves on the trees, obviously. Autumn probably, with the colours in the ferns and that. Beautiful colours and tones in the water. Nice slow shutter speed used. The only criticism I'd have with it, and it's only a tiny criticism, is on my screen when I'm looking at it, it seems to be a bit too saturated for my eye, but that's just a very personal thing. And something, if it is, it can be fixed very, very easily. I'd love to see a print of it. The river and the detail in the river and the riverbed is just fascinating me in this one, to be quite honest. I'd even think about a crop there, sort of up at the branches of the trees where it begins to go into the light, into the sky. I think about cropping it at that level so that your eye isn't kind of drawn up to that bright area there. I think you need to keep the focus on the ferns, the texture there, and the detail there in the water. I think is just extraordinary. Those coppery colours that you get there in autumn reflected in rivers is absolutely fabulous. So well done to the author.
Great stuff. Anyone else throw in with a few comments there, please?
Okay, I'll go to him. Yeah, again, I love those autumn colours, and the like Charlie agreed, the riverbed colours are fantastic, and all I love is the line where the water's going over the rocks, and the way that line just follows, your eye just follows that line off into the distance, that line of disturbed water. And if I, again, like Charlie, I thought the greens are just a bit too strong. And the only small thing I would say is down in the bottom left-hand corner, that piece of grass. If that could be got rid of or cropped out. My eye just keeps going to it. Otherwise, I love it. I think it's a great image.
Okay,
Okay,
cool.
Tim.
Thanks, guys. Next one, so.
Oh, yeah.
Right. Paul, you didn't comment the last time. Do you want to start on this one?
Yep. This is a city centre or light trail shot, probably from one of our own nights out. I'm on the fence about it because of the yellow box. The yellow box is kind of either in or out of the shot, and it's a little bit distracting. The light trail itself is handled well, no problems there. But if you look on the left hand low, that little yellow box is kind of half in the shot and half out the shot, and I just find that a little bit distracting. But other than that, it's well handled there. And nothing is overexposed, which is always good. Good shot, yeah, well done.
Magic Ball, thanks for those comments. Anybody else want to shout?
Okay, I'll take it, Tim. I think it's a lovely shot. It's very well handled, exposure-wise, because as we know, trying to keep everything within range here can be quite difficult. I would echo what Paul said about the yellow box, but I would also have, I suppose, a problem at the right-hand side where you have a bit of a traffic light and this bit of tree here. So I'd be looking at a square crop here of this building, where you take that little bit out on the right-hand side and take the yellow box out on the other side, and I think that's your image probably. So you're concentrating on the building with those lines streaking across it. You're cutting out the yellow box and you're cutting out the tree and the bit of traffic light here on this side. But yeah, very well handled, nicely seen, and in the right place at the right time. Great image.
Yeah.
Lovely. Thanks, guys. Great comments, and a couple of cures for fixing the picture as well thrown in. Fantastic. Right, next one up. All right. Again, can I have a volunteer to give us a few shouts about this one?
Okay. Yeah. Again, I love this. The exposure is brilliant because you're in shadow and you got the very, very bright white buildings in the background with the sunlight on them. And just the idea of the building where you're standing, just framing the building in the background, and those lovely shadows from the roof on the floor in front of you, and the way they light up the stones on the wall on the left hand side. I just couldn't see anything that I could. There's nothing else that I could say about it. I just really like the way it's done.
Lovely, Michael. Thanks for the comments. Anyone else want to say anything about this shot?
Yeah, I'll hop in there, Tim. Yeah, I agree with Michael. It's a cracking shot. I love this kind of thing, really. Architecture with silhouettes and things like this, with shadows, long shadows. It's almost like looking through a telescope at that white building. And you know, if it weren't composed like this, you'd say the white building was a distraction, but this is where your eye is going to down this colonnade. It's absolutely beautiful. What I would do with it, what I would consider doing with it, is through the ope here, you can see that building, the continuation of that building there. What I would do is I would take the white out of that a little bit, just bring the white down a small bit, so that your eye isn't kind of drawn back to that. Or when you look down the colonnade, you're inclined to look to the left here again. And I know you can't do this, but the other thing I would, if you were back in this same location again, I'd be looking at the angle of the sun, so that the line of the colonnade as you're going down, it's almost just right of center here, would almost be kissing the line of the poles here, so that you're not getting that sort of light and dark there between the poles and the whole colonnade itself. You understand what I'm saying there, Tim, with that shadow? So just a longer shadow to bring that line out to the line of the poles. Just come back an hour later or something like that, the shadow would probably be casting a longer shadow, so that that would move out. But I mean, it's a beautiful shot, cracking shot, beautifully seen, and well executed.
Lovely, great. Yeah, good idea to come back in an hour. Obviously, with the
Exactly.
location, there's no danger that there's going to be a thunderstorm within that hour. You know, you come back,
Yeah,
it'll still be blazing sunshine.
Can I just say something on that image there, lads, even though we've already some good comments there. I think this is a great example of seeing a shot, you know.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
you'd often walk past this and you'd never see it. And
Yeah.
that's the beauty of the shot for me, is that the author's actually seeing the shot and obviously taking it, but they quite often you'd stroll past that and you wouldn't see anything there, you know. So I think that's the magic of this one, you know.
Correct.
Yeah, and I think as well, like, consider if you take the shot of that hotel on its own, you know, what good is it to anybody except like a picture postcard of the holiday they were on? It's not really something that anybody wants to see in a club photograph, you know.
Mm.
So yeah, it's a different angle on a hotel, isn't it?
Yeah, we'll see.
It certainly is.
Is that it, or have we got any more? Right, we've got some more.
So I leave it there. I won't comment on that one. That's fine.
All right. Okay. I'll kick off there. So okay. So this is a lovely landscape image. There's great drama here between the water, the sort of coloured landscape, right up to the snow-topped mountains there in the background. I think if the snow wasn't there, I don't think this shot would work quite as well. I love the water. I love the way it's handled. It's not. There's still a bit of texture in it. It's not smoothed out completely. And I like the fact that the water is taking into the scene, turning to the right, and taking up to the mountains. Beautiful scene. Great texture in the clouds as well. There, you can really feel the sort of the day that was taken wasn't a very pleasant day to be out, and very, very nice. I also like just down on the left-hand side here where the water finishes and the bank of the river, for want of a better word, comes in, where you have that rock there. That's nice, little bit of texture there and a bit of colour as well. Very, very nice shot.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll throw in a few words of this one, which again, it's a beautiful image. It's kind of tranquil, but also kind of you know, exciting at the same time. So you've got that the roaring, rushing water, which gives you the energy feel, and then in the distance you've got like the haze and the snowy mountains. So you've got quite a lot going on in the shot, but it all kind of works together. It's like the yin and yang makes it happen. Yeah, the water flow is that where it's not too creamy and smooth that it loses you know, all interest, but it's got like whites, darks, kind of blue greens in it. So it's like one of these paintings that people do with the palette knife, where they get a lot of texture in with the paint. And even over to the far bank, you can see over the far bank it's still running, but it's like grey, but they're just kind of white wisps in it over there. And on the near side, then, because it's slow, you just kind of see like pools of water there. Yeah, so for me, it's a lovely image. It's got a lot going on in it. You're led in. The land has got just enough color, but not too much to distract you from the rest of the image. So yeah, overall, great shot.
Thank you, guys. We move on.
Yeah, great, do.
Okay. Can I just say that I loved in that chat before we go, I loved there's two photographers up along the left-hand river bank, and they give it a nice scale.
I only just spotted them myself, actually.
I remember those two guys.
Right, Michael, as you're talking, do you want to start in this one?
Sure, yeah.
Thank you.
I think this is magnificent. And again, talking about scale, that house down at the bottom there just gives you some idea of the sheer size of the place, and just the amount of landscape that you're dealing with and trying to get right. And just as Charlie said, the godlight coming through, it just gives it that magic that wouldn't be there otherwise. I just think it's a fantastic capture, just to get that moment. And I love the way it's cropped. I like the building down at the bottom, and then the light just leading your eye up through the valley and off to the mountains in the background. That's all I can say about it.
Yeah, agree. It's great. Great shot. The colour is fantastic in it. The little dwarfing of the house by the landscape and even the light and the beams coming out from the sky. And either by luck or a lot of patience, the beam from the sky is just coming down right where the house is, really. So it's like the spotlight in the sky coming down to it. I would have loved to have seen a little bit more lead into the house. And even though the sky is great and dramatic, my preference would be to have a little bit of lead into the house and less sky. But that's just a minor criticism. It's a beautiful shot the way it is.
Yeah, that was one from Scotland where we were driving. I think Charlie might have been in the same location, but we were just driving down the road and this appeared in front of us. So we literally just jumped out, cameras in hand, and just snapped away like crazy. And it was just a nice scene. And I would agree with him. The lead into the house would be lovely, but unfortunately, the main road is there, and it kind of goes, in a horizontal direction in the frame of the photograph, so it just wouldn't work. Unfortunately, that's all I had. But it was just a snapshot, really. But I'm actually pleased with it myself. So
great stuff. Okay, guys, I think we should probably leave it there for the moment.
Yeah, we can leave it there.
Right.
Enough.
Yeah. So that's great. Hi, and just to finish off our session, we're going to do a little bit of a software walkthrough. So this is not really a tutorial. It's not instructing you on exactly how to use the software, but it's just giving you a look so you can see what's there, and you can judge for yourself whether it's a product that you want to use for your own photography. So it's called Darktable. Just to put it in context, Charlie was going to give you a session tonight on using Lightroom, but due to some technical issues which we haven't yet surmounted, we're not able to bring it out. We'll hopefully be able to do it a little bit later on in the season. So you're not getting Charlie, you're getting me, and you're not getting Lightroom, you're getting Darktable. This is the site that Darktable resides on. It's darktable.org, and it shows you basically what happens with the software, and it allows you to download it. In addition to being a free download, it is also a completely free to use product. So unlike other raw photo editors, it doesn't actually cost you anything. It's very, very powerful, sophisticated and accomplished editor, and many people would consider it to be as good or better than some of the paid alternatives. If you haven't used any of these type of raw editors before, then it may be something that you want to download and just check out. If you are using some other product to do your raw editing, you'll probably be familiar with the kind of layout, because here what you're seeing is really the light table view. So you're seeing small thumbnail images of the photographs. And then there are other parts of this that you can go into. The next one is the darkroom, which is really where you're doing your processing and editing. And then there's a section over here called Other. So on Other, you can connect your camera to the computer and take feathered shots. So this is allowing you to control the camera from the computer and see the images on your screen straight away. You can run a slideshow. You can create or you can geotag the images so that they're shown on a map. This area is not connected to printing at the moment, but this area would also show you how to set up your shot for printing. Before these images appeared here, I had to do the import, which is up here on the left hand side, and you can import a single image or a couple of images. You can import a folder or a number of folders, or you can just leave the thing automatically scan for whatever hard drives, pen drives got connected to your system. So in this view, you've got all the things that you can normally do in a raw editor. So for instance, you can star the image, you can set them to be set in different colors, and you can scroll up and down to see the rest of your images. And you can control how many are shown by zooming in and out, or by using this little slider at the end here. When you've got a shot that you want, what you do is you take that shot really from the light table area that we're in at the moment into the dark room. So if I click this one here and go to dark room, that shot will appear in developing mode. I could have also brought this in here by a simple double click or by pressing the letter D from the keyboard. Okay, so in darkroom, what you've got in darkroom is a panel on the left, your shot in the middle, and a panel on the right. So the right hand side panel is where you're going to do most of the work, because that's what allows you to adjust the quality and the details of your image. This one can be zoomed up and zoomed down. I'm just using the mouse controller wheel to zoom in and back out. But you can also zoom in and out by using the menu systems. Any of these areas can also be controlled, so I can turn off the panel here to get more space. I can drop this little film strip at the bottom down, back up, and as you saw on that one, some of them come in a couple of different versions, so now I'm just seeing the metadata, and if I keep pursuing it, I can see the images. So in fact, with this little thumbnail track down here, I don't actually have to go back to light table just for the next shot. I could just double click the shot to bring it into the darkroom. Just a quick look at the image and what we can do with it. So I'm going to take this image and do really what's the first thing that I would normally do. First thing that most people would do, and that's kind of recommended to do, is the exposure adjustment. At the moment, actually, there are several items already applied to this shot just by automation in the software, but exposure isn't actually one of them. So if I take a look here at my shot, I'll just zoom in again so you can see. So I was shooting this at center weighted, and my focus point was on this bird. So I think the bird is probably fairly well exposed, which means that for some of the other areas, they're probably overexposed. So we'll take a look at that and see, because we can see exactly what's over and underexposed. But just for the moment, let's just take a look at how you change the exposure. This button here, make sure that you're in the exposure mode, which is here. Then you've got a simple slider you can drag to increase or decrease the exposure. So on balance, I think, the bird is probably exposed, but the background and stuff looks quite dull. So if I drag that up incrementally, you can see it changing until I've overdone it. Back down again. And I can double click just to reset this to nothing. You see we've got a histogram up here. And in the histogram, so you can see on the right hand side, my white doesn't extend out there. So you can tell from that we just need to drag that out so that we get more even exposure, and that we get an actual white point in our shot. So you can do this interactively here. If I drag this guy out, a little bit slower than the slider, but I can actually bring it out. And you see it's brightened the image, and it's brought the slider up as well. So you do have the ability to jump into that histogram. Coordinate histogram, actually, you can change that to look as a waveform rather than a little map. You can also change it to a spectrograph map and back to normal. And of course, you can tweak each individual color. So there's a lot of green in this image. I can turn off the green so I can see how the other colors look, or I can turn off the other ones. See how the green is. And I mentioned that this shot already had some settings applied. So you can see here that there's a history section. And if you look here, you can see that the number 9 item is the exposure, which is the stuff that I just changed. But before that, you can see there were 8 other items applied. I didn't physically actually apply these myself. They were applied automatically by the software when I brought the shot into Darkroom. And they're applied based upon the basically your camera and lens manufacturer. So whatever metadata comes across, Darktable has a little database in the background, and it organizes the shot to the optimum based upon what it's found in your camera. So while adjusting exposure, I do have a knack of overdoing things, so maybe I've overdone the exposure. So how can we tell? Well, there's a couple of different items down here that allow you to do some bit of proofing on your shot. And we have highlight warnings actually for RAW and normal. Now actually this shot won't really show me much in RAW, so I'll just go for the normal one here. Now that's turned on, so you should see those marked areas in red or blue. I forget what I've said at the moment, but probably red. Just as you'd see in your LCD. Yeah, so here you see the red bits showing up. So the red bits, I've overdone that, so they are overexposed. So one way people set the exposure is that they just go up until they see those, then they track it down until they disappear. So you can see all the ones here behind the bird. There's a few small spots there, and there's a couple on top of this bit of railway sleeper, and some on the edge of the pot here. So what you might do at this point is just keep that, because you think, well, I don't really care about these little spots here. I'm not worried if they're overexposed, but I don't want a whole big chunk of tile behind the bird to be overexposed. Or you could just be of the opinion that you want everything properly exposed and drop down until all of the reds basically disappear. So let's say that we've got the exposure right. Then the next thing maybe we move on to is working on colors and tones. And in this image again, probably because I based my exposure on the bird, then we go into the bird to see, well, actually you see a little bit of overexposure here now that I've gone in, but apart from that, probably his eye, his feathers and that are correct. But looking at the greens and the shades in the wood here, those are really kind of a little bit lackluster. So I might want to change the saturation of this picture. So again, if I come over to my module section here on the side, you can see that's the exposure one that I was on a moment ago. I can crop and rotate, change orientation, a few other things, but I'd like to do my saturation. So this is quite a neat little search ability up here to search for the particular change you want to make at the moment. So all those items you see here in Darktable are called modules. So I want to search for a module that's got saturation in it. Nice feature, because actually there are so many items available inside here that it can be hard to find the one you want. So I found it just by searching, and here are my sliders, my contrast, brightness, and saturation. So you can work away with those sliders just as you would normally. But in addition, they've got a nice little neat feature. If you right mouse click, you get these little curves. And if you drag those curves around, so at the moment I'm in the saturation section. So if I drag here to the left, see it's going to go to black and white and desaturate totally. And if I do it to the opposite side, I'll start super saturating. So you can see all the colors terracottas coming out there in particular. See the greens have gone kind of fluorescent green, and bring it back down again. So at the moment I'm dragging quite high up on this line, which has a very dramatic effect. if I dragged lower down on the line, the changes come in a little more subtly. So let's just see what we've got with our shot at the moment. I can hide these windows here, or I can do my tab to get them out of the way and just take a look at the image. Bring them back. And let's go for this guy here, which is the haze removal. Probably not going to be a huge issue in this shot, but just to show you, we can adjust haze. Just to take any like smudgy effect out of the shot, make it crisper. So what I do is I just jump back into the light table mode and select a different shot. Maybe one of these guys here. Okay, so you can see that this is fairly cloudy, shot with long leads through a window, and if I adjust my haze on this, it should make a fairly dramatic difference. Okay, so you can see it coming up there. Looks completely different. So let's just reset that. And last thing I'll show you is there's a lot of features in this. We could take ages looking at them, but any of the features that we've seen so far, the saturation, the haze, the exposure, I've just applied them all globally. So now what I want to do is I want to apply them just to individual areas of the shot. So to do that, you can take any of these masking options here, and when you take those, you get a different selection of tools you can use for masking below. So you can see here that I can paint these in, I can mark different shapes. You can even select a path. So you could select like a square, rectangle, oval. Great for building shots. Okay, so what we'll do is we will apply this with a gradient tool. So something we all do with darkening skies. So here's my gradient, and that's in. I'll just rotate it. Then I'll apply the haze adjustment. So actually I'll just bring it up a little bit here so we can see its effect applied locally. So here's my haze removal section up here again. I haven't changed it yet in this shot, so you'll do notice that there is a little bit in there. Again, this comes from the auto settings that Darktable applies when you bring your shot in. But let's just give it the manual adjustment. Give it a second to kick in, and you can see it. Actually, I'll just do another little bit so you can see it more. So on the top here, so that gradient haze reduction is set, and on the bottom it isn't set. And of course I might decide I wanted to include all the magpie in this, but nothing of the extra end here. You can combine these tools together, so I could actually paint out some of the area above. I didn't really want all those branches to be de-hazed. Okay, so that's it from this session really, just to show you a few little things that you can do with Darktable. If you've enjoyed this or got some value out of it, great. Let us know what you think. And if you've got some other ideas for items you'd like us to do on this online session, be sure to drop us an email or a WhatsApp or whatever. Get in touch somehow, and we'll do our best to put some of those suggestions into action if we can. All right, thanks again for watching. Bye.